Hi everybody, welcome to today's version of Ask Octopus. I'm actually away travelling this week, so this one is that we're not recording on a Friday, unfortunately. Or fortunately, depends on how you see things. Today I have Sean, I have James, and I have Ryan. Hey guys, how are you guys today?
Well, how are you?
I'm good. I was going to say, I can tell it's not Friday. It looks like you're missing a little pep in your step.
Oh, I'm always happy, Ryan. I'm always happy. It's Ask Octopus time. It's Ask Octopus time. It's still the end of my day, so I'm going out for a ride after this. So jumping on my bike and so yeah, no, I'm good, guys. I'm good. It's summer in Scotland. It's it's my favourite day of the year.
Perfect.
So, yeah, I'm going to be going through and answering an interesting question today. So today's topic is going to be data migration. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump straight in. We've got a few different tool sets to deal with the migration. In this instance, I am going to be talking about jumping into the Octopus server and doing it within the Octopus portal. This is something I get asked pretty regularly. It's something what I generally find is it doesn't happen that often, but it's something that it tends to be pretty useful on certain occasions, and there are additional approaches which I will do a follow-up session on. But in this instance, what I'm going to do is I'm going to export data from this instance of Octopus over to a brand new instance. As you can see, there's no projects, there's nothing in infrastructure, and this is a fairly it's fairly minimal here. And what I'll do is I'll take us through and take us through your step by step. Do you guys get asked this? You guys get asked this a lot by any chance?
Yeah, it comes up, not necessarily with the customers I talk to directly, but I see it coming through support and the community side. Usually data migration of some sort is pretty regular.
Yeah. It's I get that. To be honest, like you say, it doesn't tend to be the customers I tend to work with tend to be a little bit more fairly static. And what we'll do is obviously I just want to jump. Let's jump into the suitable scenarios first. I think that would probably make a little bit more sense. The suitable scenarios here, the mostly is migrating to data between Octopus instances. The biggest thing that I would say here, just first, is it has to be on the same version of Octopus. Without the same version of Octopus, it's not going to work. You're going to have problems. You're going to have as Bob says, you're going to have a bad day that day. So yeah, with this is just some tips. Firstly, before you even start wanting to do this, get this. Also, first things first, do a proof of concept. You don't want to be doing this in production, and then suddenly you run into something and it becomes an issue. But the biggest thing here is the next biggest thing is make sure it's the same server. So if you do, make sure where possible have it in even if it's a local VM, with no network access, because there'll be a whole bunch of stuff that does come over. But it generally tends to be pretty useful when you have like isolated Octopus servers. If you, for instance, have, say, if you work in a PCI environment and you have to have like separated Octopus servers, but yeah, definitely give it a test. And today I'm going to take you through a live migration. So I'm hoping the demo gods are with me. So as you can see here, it's got just a very basic, just random quotes. This is one of our sample projects. And you've got your infrastructure. Just one more time, you've got nothing in this one, and as you can see, octo.work.local port 81. So I'm just doing it locally just to make things a little bit easier. So let's jump into Octopus. We've got the Octopus Server Manager here, and as you can see here, we've got the default instance, and then we've got Octo2. What we're going to do is we're going to make that full screen just to make everything a little bit easier. And this is it. What we're going to do here is down here in the storage, you've got export data, import data, view master key. You won't really need the master key for this instance, but what you will do is hit export data. And then what's going to happen is the export data is going to pop up. You've got a export directory. I have a handy little directory. This is empty just now. I just want to make sure. Just jump in. It's PC. Yeah, export. As you can see, this folder is empty. Where possible, you should always start with an empty folder. Okay, so I'm going to select export. I'm going to, the key bit here is what you don't want to, make sure you set a password. It's a bit like if you've used, say, certificates in the past, when you export a certificate, you want to set that password. Because without that, anyone could then use that certificate. So from a security, same idea is we are exporting things which are sensitive. So here, I'm going to use a super secure password of password 1234. Don't do that in production. And with that is you can also include the task logs. So if you absolutely have to bring the server task logs over, you can bring this here. I'm not going to use that for just now from here. And then, so I'm just going to not bring that over. Hit next. You can, and this is actually, we have this functionality in most of our settings, in here within Octopus, show the script. So you can drop to command line. And you could, so if you did, so say for instance, if you're doing it as a proof of concept, obviously you can see my super secure password. What you've got here is you can just copy and paste this. So the next time, if you wanted to automate it, you know, do it out of hours whilst you're sleeping, you can. I know Sean's a big fan of infrastructure as code. So obviously from there, he could actually, you know, you can do this and use it and automate it and all that good stuff. So, but in this instance, I'm just going to do it manually. Export.
Yeah, I've used that show script on the Tentacle installation screen to figure, like, reverse engineer it to automate it. Now we've got, you know, great docs that explain how to do that with examples, but show script is very handy where it pops up.
Yeah, to be honest, I used that a bunch in the past myself, because that's the thing is like even when you're installing it, and we're seeing a lot more customers using Octopus as cattle, not as pets. So you know, tearing things up, keeping like things like the storage, logging. We've done some really great stuff there, so I would check out that. But from here, you could actually use this, not so much this, but in that show script when you're doing the tentacle and automate all that good stuff. Anyway, export complete. So what we've got here is you've got a whole bunch of stuff. Hopefully at this point, make sure it exports successfully. As you can see, we've got 672 items, and then hit finish. So at that point, you can jump into the folder. You've got your action templates, attachments, certificates. I'm not going to read all that out, but you know, your users, teams, even all your spaces as well will come over. In this instance, we do have the full, effectively it's the full server you're bringing over. And then what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to Octo 2. Instead of doing export, as you can see, we've got localhost port 81, octo. Oh, that is wrong. Derek has made a mistake there. Let's correct that. Let's chat amongst yourself, guys.
I was going to notice, Derek, while you're typing, in the export, it had 300 and something community step templates. Did you install everything from the community library?
Yes.
Okay. I was like, I didn't know.
I was wondering about that too.
Yeah, it's something I automatically do, because the community step, I mean, that resource is just so useful. Mm-hmm. Just generally, if you know, it's funny though. One thing is from a security perspective, something actually it's a little bit off topic. But one thing is from that is we actually support all that. I had a customer recently who questioned that they didn't want to use the community step templates, and it was only when I actually worked with them to find out a little bit why. With the community step templates, we support them. So obviously, if there is any issues with them, like from a security perspective, we would fix that. Anyway, I fixed my little blunder there. So we're going to select import data. We're going to select browse, go to local disk, export, and then select that. So, and then we're going to use my super secure password and click next. And then, so there's a few options here. I really like this. You've got the overwrite function. Generally, I try and avoid using this tool if I'm bringing into anything with more like data that's already there. But you can use to overwrite them, and you can. It's a bit like, and also the next one here is preview only as well. You can just simulate it. So if there's any sort of issues, you know, you can do that. So you can do a POC. I don't tend to use that quite so much, mainly because I tend to set up clean environments each time and just kind of build up there. Do you guys do much? Do you use preview much?
Yeah, so in kind of a lot of times is if we had a developer that was doing a bunch of stuff on a local Octopus instance, and they wanted to bring all that into, you know, the main instance, you know, we do hit the preview and then kind of see what would be overwritten and what wouldn't be, just to make sure there weren't any huge issues with that kind of migration.
Okay, actually, let's do a quick preview.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm pretty paranoid when it comes to running things. So if there is a preview option, I usually use it.
Almost always, yeah.
Even like PowerShell scripting, if there's like a what if option, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna run with what if to see what happens.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's something I use in a previous life. There we go. So the preview's looking good. So yeah, this is all. So obviously it's just a dry run. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do preview only. We don't need to overwrite as there's nothing there. I like this little icon with the love heart with the database. Always back up your database, guys. Always back up your database. So yeah, hit import. And then just, you can talk amongst yourself.
So yeah, I need that on a t-shirt, like the database with the heart.
That'd be perfect.
I'm going to get one. And then on the back, like, always back up your database.
So back up your backups.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it, right? So, oh, no, it's not quite. There we go. Just stop the service and then bringing up the service. Okay, import is import complete. Again, you can use that show script button, hit finish, and then we'll go back to Chrome. Oh, this will just be a temporary. This has just been in the browser for just a moment. Come back, and then as you can see, we now have some listing tentacles configured. We've got dashboard, and we should have a random quotes, which was deployed on March 15th, 2019 at 1:46 p.m. And that's it, really. As you can see, it's really straightforward. I will discuss some other approaches in another Ask Octopus question session. And just before we go, I just want to cover the unsuitable scenarios. Again, similar to what I was saying earlier on, it's not to migrate data from older versions of Octopus to new versions, and there are other ways to do that. Generally, you should always do an upgrade. Disaster recovery, don't use this as a disaster recovery option. Generally, there's other ways there, like moving your, obviously moving your server or your SQL database. Again, same idea, not, and I've done actually a session on that. I'll include that in the link for today's session. Definitely recommend, if you do want to look at moving your database and your Octopus server, certainly check that out. And the cloud migration, don't export this and then come to us and say we want to move to Octopus Cloud. Certainly what I'll also do there is I'll include a useful link on how you do go about, because we are now accepting migration to Octopus Cloud. That will be in the bit down here. But yeah, just obviously some tips here. Data is matched by the name instead of ID. We generally within Octopus, we don't use our ID. It's just it's a different type of string, but ultimately we find using name is much more is the better approach. And it just the biggest thing I could say here is test it. Do a proof of concept. Make sure it works for you. Test it. Hit the preview button and test it again. But all in all, just obviously do what you can. If you do have any questions about it, just get in touch. And yeah, obviously, certainly, if you do have any other questions you'd like to see on today on Ask Octopus, submit it at hello.octopus.com/Ask Octopus. Email us at support@octopus.com or jump on our community Slack. We can ask any of your questions. We can jump in. It's not just us, but it's also other members of the community. Sean, James, Ryan, thank you very much for joining me today. Everybody else, have a good day.